Hello creators, it's Melissa from Melissa's Creations. Today's Christmas card is this beautiful Rooted in Nature tree card. I just love this card so much. We have a couple of accents here from the framelits that coordinate with the Rooted in Nature stamp set. If you purchase that bundle that includes the stamp set and the framelits, you do save 10%. This sentiment here is gorgeous. It's from the I'll Be Home stamp set. I found my inspiration for this from Mandy at My Paper Trail. She had this on Pinterest and it was so gorgeous, and you can see that there's a little bit of Wink of Stella on here. I did amend this slightly from her version because I want to be able to have my customers make these so that they can put them in the mail easily without extra postage. So I have done a pretty flat version. Also, I did use Wink of Stella on my trees, and I believe she used some shimmer paint, which would be extra gorgeous. I just didn't have any on hand at the moment. So I'm really excited to show you how to make this card using your Stamparatus. Let's get started. So we just need a few pieces of cardstock for this card today. I have a standard card base in Very Vanilla. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. I have another piece of Very Vanilla cardstock. This measures 2 inches by 5.5 inches. I have Tranquil Tide cardstock. This measures 2 1/4 inches by 5.5 inches. And then I have a scrap piece of Tranquil Tide that we're going to use to cut out our leaf. I also have a piece of vellum cardstock here that we're going to cut that same leaf out with. We're going to start with our Stamparatus and our 2-inch by 5.5-inch piece of cardstock. I'm going to set this on my work surface here. I'm going to put my magnets on it to hold it in place. Be sure that you do not let these magnets get too close. You don't want them to snap together and break. I have the 2 little grouping of trees from the Rooted in Nature stamp set. I'm going to start by placing them kind of off the edge of the cardstock to the right, and I'm going down just a little bit towards the bottom edge. I have my plate set up at the top. I'm going to bring it down to pick up those trees. And we're going to start with our lightest color first. So I have mint macaron here in the classic Stampin' Pad. This is the new style, so it's extra sleek and more compact than the old style. Now this is brand new, so it's super extra juicy. Now I first stamped this project and it was a little too much ink. I did not get a very crisp image out of my trees. So what I am recommending that you do, if you have a super juicy ink pad, take a sticky note and just lay it over your project. I'm going to ink up my trees, and it doesn't take much because this again is super juicy. I'm going to stamp down once, and then I'm going to remove that sticky note and use the 2nd generation ink to get a crisp and lighter colored stamp onto my cardstock. You can see here that it looks really nice. So I'm going to move my magnet over, going to ink up that stamp again. We're going to do the same thing, but instead of the first position, we're going to move it over 2 rungs. Bring back in my scrap piece to stamp on, remove it, and then stamp it again. And then we're going to move this magnet over. We're going to do that one more time. Ink up, move it over 2 rungs, put our sticky note down, stamp it once, and then stamp it again. And there we have a nice uniform line of trees in the light mint macaron. I have cleaned off my trees and I'm going to reposition them so that they are up a little higher this time. They're more up towards the top. So I'm going to pick those up now, and I have my plate back in position 1. And this time I'm going to use my Tranquil Tide Classic Stampin' Pad. Now again, this is the old style pad here, and I've had this for quite a while now, so it's not as juicy as the brand new pad that I have for the Mint Macaron. So on this one, I want to make sure that I ink it up really well, and I'm going to stamp it down in first generation. That means I'm not going to stamp it off on scratch paper first, because I want to make sure that I get that nice dark color from this Tranquil Tide stamp pad. Beautiful. So now I'm going to keep going across like we did before and stamp the rest of my trees. All right, now that we have our tree line all stamped and beautiful, love it. I'm going to take that off and I'm going to bring in my piece of cardstock for my card base. Now I do have it scored in the middle here, and I want to put this onto my Stamparatus so that it goes out to the side. I have another set of brackets here that I can put my other plate into. So I'm going to just line this up with some of my lines on my grid paper here. I'm going to put my magnets down. And now I'm going to take the Merry Christmas stamp from the I'll Be Home set. I'm going to put it down here in the right-hand corner. And with my other plate, I'm going to bring that in and pick it up. And with that Tranquil Tide, I'm going to ink that stamp up and stamp it down. Now again, like I said, this ink pad is not super juicy. I've had it for a little while and I don't have a re-inker, so it's not coming out super dark. So what I want to do is stamp it again in the exact same place. And that is one of the biggest benefits of the Stamparatus, is if your image doesn't stamp correctly the first time, you can stamp it again and you'll know that you're stamping in the exact same place. It is amazing. All right, that is it for our Stamparatus. I'm going to pull this out, set this aside, and we will finish our card. I'm going to use the bone folder to fold my card in half and get a nice crease. I'm going to take my tree line and some snail adhesive. And that goes all the way from edge to edge, and there's just a little border on the top and the bottom. And now we're going to use snail to get that onto our card base. And now for a little bit of big shot work to put on a couple of accents. I have here my magnetic platform, a cutting plate. I'm going to put on a piece of Tranquil Tide cardstock and a piece of my vellum cardstock. And I have my Nature's Roots framelits dies here. I'm going to use this detailed leaf. This is just an embossing die. So I'm going to set it onto my Tranquil Tide and it will emboss it, but I also want to cut it out, and we're going to do that on the next step. So I'm going to also get out the leaf die that will cut out the image, and I'm going to cut one of those out of my vellum. So I'm going to put my other cutting plate on top and we're going to run that through. So you can see that that embossed. So now we're going to put our framelit on top of that and cut it out. So I want to add a little bit of glimmer to my Tranquil Tide leaf here. So I have my clear Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to run that all over to get a nice shimmery leaf. Now that I have my leaves done, I'm going to take some glue dots and I'm going to put one onto the back of my leaf. We're going to position that up in the left-hand corner here. And I want to make sure that I don't let my leaves go off of the edge of the card, because we want to make sure that we are able to mail this card. So with this image, it cut out this direction, but I'm going to actually flip it over so that I have the smaller leaf going to the left instead of to the right. And And I'm going to tuck the big leaf behind like this, and I'm just going to kind of layer it and offset it a little bit. And now with some of our amazing linen thread, I'm going to tie a little double bow. So it comes on a roll now, but if you still have the linen thread on these cards and you get those kinks, you can take your finger and your thumbnail and just kind of run that along, and it'll help to smooth out those kinks. So then I'm going to just double this up, tie a little bow. I'm gonna pop a glue dot onto the back of it. I'm gonna pinch the glue dot so you can't see it from the front. And we're going to set that onto our little leaves. And finally, this last step is optional, but you can take some more Wink of Stella and you can color on your little trees here. Now just be aware, if you do this step with the Wink of Stella, it will smear your trees a little bit because of the ink reacting with the wet material that's in the Wink of Stella. And I think how Mandy got around the smearing, she decided to use shimmer paint and she sponged it onto the stamp and stamped it with the Stamparatus at the same time she was stamping the trees. So that will help you a lot if you do have that shimmer paint. You can use that and you won't get the smearing that you get with the Wink of Stella pen. However, I really don't notice the smearing that much and it doesn't really bother me, so I am just fine using this technique. And there we are, creators. There is our gorgeous Rooted in Nature green Christmas card. I hope you enjoyed this project today. I just love how that Wink of Stella catches the light. Isn't that gorgeous? And this beautiful little accent up here with the leaves. I just think it's so much fun. It would be also really beautiful if I would have embossed the vellum the same way I embossed the green leaf. Oh my goodness, maybe I'm gonna have to make a few more of these and give that a try. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified of future videos. You can follow me on the web at melissascreations.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/MKre8tions. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest with the handle at MKre8tions. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I will see you on the next video. Bye! So I'm going to put that back into the first position here. Oh God. Ew! That is so gross! Really? Come on! Oh, get off of there. And now I'm going to clean off my stamp first because I forgot to do that from the last card.